Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and today I'm going to make a tunnel card. And I'm starting off with a bit of cardstock here that is 5.5 tall, and ultimately it will need to get cut to 2 5/8 of an inch. I didn't quite know that going in, but all I'm looking to do is score every 3/8 of an inch until I have essentially 7 sections of 3/8 of an inch each. And so that ends up being 6 score lines that you need to put in. And I like to fold all of my score lines as mountain folds, and that's why you see me flipping it back and forth, because when we go to fold this, I'm going to fold it as an accordion fold or concertina fold or a fan fold, however you like to think about it. But basically, your folds will alternate between a mountain fold and a valley fold. Now, these panels here I've cut to 5 inches tall, and I actually cut them so that instead of 4 1/4 wide, which is going to ultimately be the size of my card, I scored them at like a 16th to 1/8 of an inch shy of that. So you can aim for anywhere between 4 and 1/8 to 4 and maybe a little bit more than an eighth. You can just kind of eyeball it. And the reason is because these panels, they will ultimately get adhered between 2 fold lines on this initial piece that I'm currently folding here. And that's what's going to hold each of our little scenes in place. And so that piece, this little fan fold piece, you'll need 2 that are identical. So 2 pieces that are 5.5 tall by 2 5/8 wide, score every 3/8 of an inch, and then fold mountain valley, all the way across. So once I've got that dry fit and it is the length or the width that I need, then I can just trim off the excess here. Now, the number of folds that you need, it really just depends on how many scenes you want to use. So I wanted to use all the scenes, and that's why I have as many as I do. But if you wanted to only use maybe 1 or 2 layers, then you can adjust accordingly. So now that I have the side pieces complete, and remember, we do need 2 of these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to put everything together, but I'm going to attach one side first and get all of the scenes of our tunnel fold attached to one side, and then I can attach the other side. Now, you can do this however it is easiest for you. So if it makes sense to go, one at a time, but attach both the left and the right side together, then go for it. I just found this to be easier for me, and so that's how I'm gonna do mine. Now, the one of the finishing touches that you can do, just so that you can maybe minimize how much of this side piece gets seen, is you can miter your corners a little bit. So for example, the edge that I'll be gluing this frontmost panel to, I've mitered that so that the corners aren't going to be as visible if I don't have this completely lined up correctly. And I'm going to do the same for all of the internal pieces too. So anywhere that a panel will get glued to or attached to, those are the corners that I'm going to miter. And that's totally optional, but it just helps so that if things aren't lined up 100% straight, then it's a little bit more forgiving because it's going to be a lot less noticeable. Now I'm going to use a combination of a dry adhesive tape as well as just a thin line of liquid adhesive. The dry tape really helps to give this a quick grab, and that way I can just continue to work. I can continue to like attach layer after layer and have it not slip on me. But the liquid adhesive is going to ensure that this is nice and permanent, because it's gonna end up being a really fun card. And so I think you want it to be long lasting. It's not going to be one where I think you're going to play with the mechanism a lot, but I think it's a keeper because it's pretty unique, and there's a lot of die cutting that goes into building all the scenes. So I think whoever gets it, I'm sure is going to really appreciate the time and energy that went into it. So I'm going to attach from the backmost, which has the smallest aperture opening, and I'm going to attach each of these panels one by one, going from back to front. And so basically, when you glue a piece down, you skip the next sort of segment of that 3/8 of an inch, and then the next segment is where you want to attach. So basically, if you're counting, those 3/8 of an inch sections, all the odd numbered sections are where you want to put your adhesive. So that might be one way to think about it. And one of the things that I'm trying to be careful of is I want this to line up so that it will stand really nicely. So I want to make sure that at the bottom, everything is nice and level. Everything is square. All the edges are square with one another. And when it collapses down, it should all be covering each other. They should all stack 100% and cover each other. So you don't want any crooked lines or anything like that, because it'll make it so that it's a little bit harder to actually stand up. Now, before I attach the topmost, I decided I'm gonna attach the rest, and that way I can really focus on getting that frontmost panel like super straight, and because it's gonna be the first one that you see. All the interior scenes, maybe there's a little bit of wiggle room where they're not going to be as noticeable if they're a little bit off, but it's that first one that you're going to see first. So I really wanted to make sure I had all of the side pieces and everything attached up until that point. That way I could really focus on getting that frontmost scene perfectly lined up. So now I'll do the same thing. I'm going to miter the corners where I know I'm going to have a panel attached to it. And I'm going to start to apply my adhesive, again, using a combination of dry adhesive tape. So here you can see very clearly, I'm going to basically put my adhesive on every other 3 and 3/8 of an inch section. And so you can see the white strips make it really clear. Now the backmost one, it's actually the back side of that glue tab that's visible, but the rest, it's the top side that's visible. And so just take your time with everything, line everything up as carefully, as squarely as you can. The liquid adhesive will give you a little bit of time, a little bit of wiggle room to get everything nice and straight if you need to lift it again. But now that one side is completely attached, what I can do as I attach the second side is peel up the liner, draw a line of liquid adhesive, and then I can just close the panel right on top and close it down flat as it would need to be if you were to put this in an envelope to send. And that way it assures you that this card can be folded completely flat. I always find that sometimes when I'm making these sort of pop-up cards that if I try to attach things just holding it in the air, a lot of times it doesn't always fold down as flatly as I would need in order to put it in the mail. So in that case, I just put it into like maybe a bubble mailer, but it's better if you can, to get it to fold down completely flat, then you can just put it into a regular envelope and mail it off. So now this top section, I did recut this one because I had trimmed it to, as I mentioned, all of the other panels I trimmed to just shy of 4¼ because they get attached between two score lines, and so you have to account for the fact that they're going inside of the score line, so they can't measure exactly 4¼ But the frontmost panel, it can measure exactly 4¼ and so I did recut that one so that it can be a little bit wider. Now with these tunnel shapes, they get pretty close to the edge on a A2 size card. So if you actually look at the right edge of the card, there's a little bit of the glue tab showing. It's not the end of the world, because I'm gonna just decorate a lot and it's easy enough to kind of cover it up with a die cut. So don't worry if a little bit of your glue tab is showing. You can find ways to actually cover that up if you need. So now the fun part begins. So besides the tunnel shapes that you can cut apertures out of, and I've seen really cool cards where both the negative, which is how I'm using it, as well as the positive pieces are used. So nothing goes to waste. You can definitely use both. But the set that I'm using has a lot of kind of ocean life, plants, coral, seaweed, etc. And I think it ends up being, I think it's 3 different fish, and there's a little bit of layering to them too, so that you can kind of cut them out of different colors and give them really bright, really fun, colorful looks. The only thing I would say that is a little bit tricky with the fish is that when you die cut them, the eye, there's actually like a hole cut through for the eye. So you're going to have to figure out what you want to do so that the eye isn't see-through. I chose to back it with some black cardstock. But you could, if you wanted the fish to have a little bit more of a comical look, you could put maybe I've seen pretty small like plastic, eyes, not the googly eyes. Those tend to be pretty large, but I've seen small little eyes, plastic eyes that you could put on there. You could use a Nuvo drop if you wanted. Just make some Nuvo drops as eyes, or use a gemstone or enamel dot or something like that. But it is something that I would definitely put something behind there, just so that the eyeball isn't clear, like open space. I also assembled the turtle, which is really sweet. So lots of fun elements here, and I just tried to die cut a lot. I just used a lot of my neon colors for the coral, lots of bright colors, but tried to also balance that with some darker colors too, just because I think it helps to kind of convey the depth of the scene by having some of the darker elements more towards the back and having the brighter elements maybe a little bit closer. And I've got a mix of just flat solid color cardstock, but I've also brought in some glitter cardstock too. I've got some really cool, like an ombre glitter cardstock that is really neat. It's from Crafting Meraki, and so it gives it some like a different look to it. And if you look closely on one of my the greens, there's some gold dots because this glitter cardstock is really smooth, and so you can actually glimmer onto it. And so I glimmered a polka dot pattern onto one of them, and it just kind of adds a little bit extra something to the cardstock, which I think is fun. And now with my sentiment, I wanted this to go right in the middle of the card, but the middle of the card has a big old opening because of the tunnel. So the cool thing that you can do is just use an acetate bridge, I guess is one word to describe it. So basically I cut that piece of acetate about 4 1/8 inch wide, and then I just glued it behind my frontmost panel. And then I glued my sentiment right over top. So then it looks like the word smile, it's just kind of floating in the middle of the card. And I got that sentiment from the new Out and About collection, which is all all of the collections, or all of the die sets in that collection will fit through your Platinum Scout, which is really, really fabulous, because the Scout is a nice strong mini die cutting machine. And I would say most die sets, I mean, when you look at what's in there, you're gonna see some really big die sets, in the sense that they help you to kind of create like large elements, but you'd be surprised that all of that can fit through your Scout. So pretty amazing. The last thing that I did is, as I was placing things, the fish, I think it's an angelfish, but the one that is coral and blue that's in the center of my card, I wanted that one to also feel like it was floating. So I put that on a bit of acetate. Now, the acetate I'm using, it is strong acetate. I'm using like a construction weight acetate so that it's nice and strong, especially for the fish, so that it can really stand up. And that way I can have my fish kind of swimming in the middle of the scene, and because it's on the acetate sand, it just looks like it's floating, which I think is a lot of fun. So it's really fabulous, this collection. You can do so much with it. You can create as intricate of a scene as you would like, and or you could use these ocean life elements and create a more flat card if you wanted. The choice is definitely yours. So I added, as a final touch, some glitter enamel dots they actually turned out to be really perfect. They're clear, but they have some glitter in them, and a bit of almost a greenish tint. So they definitely feel like they have like an ocean vibe to them. And the glitter just works really nicely because I have some of the glitter cardstock throughout the various scenes. So you can see this folds down completely flat. I mean, it's going to be pretty thick, but I don't think this is thick enough to actually trigger extra packaging. Or extra postage. I think you can actually just ship this for the cost of a single stamp. I haven't tried because I actually think I'm going to keep this one for myself. But I love this card. It's lots of fun, and imagine doing this with other tunnel shapes as well. I hope you enjoyed my video today, and I'll leave links to everything in the description box below if you want to check it out. And until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye!